Well, I mean, there are some economists who've tried to study the environmental crisis. The most famous is William Nordhaus, who has economic models in which he draws a conclusion about what's the most economically efficient way to deal with the environmental catastrophe. His conclusion is we should aim to live at a level of 3 degrees centigrade rise over pre-industrial levels. That's probably cataclysmic. I mean, the effects of that on the environment are extraordinary. I mean, we're seeing little tiny bits of it now at, 1 degree centigrade approximately. But nobody can guess what it's going to be like at 3 degrees, but it might be horrendous. It might pass tipping points in Arctic ice melting, could raise sea levels 10 feet, all kinds of imponderables. Here's a perfect case of total lack of humility. I say, my economic model says the most efficient thing is 3 degrees centigrade. So let's aim for that. How much is taken account of there? What effect does that have on the people of Bangladesh with a coastal plain, which will be flooded? I mean, a couple 100 million refugees. Where do they go? What does that do to Asia? Okay, what does it do to Asia when the dwindling water supplies in South Asia, which already leave hundreds of millions without potable water? What happens when the glaciers continue to melt, when the river flow declines, when Pakistan and India, 2 nuclear-armed countries, are facing water shortages and are struggling over the same water sources? How do you put that into your economic model? I mean, you just can't. It's not the kind of factor that can fit into an economic model. And I can magnify this all over the world. Large parts of the world that are now inhabited are going to be virtually uninhabitable if on the course that's described. What's the number that you associate with that you plug into your economic model? These are imponderables. And if you're all rational about this, you'll apply the famous precautionary principle. Like when I take out fire insurance on my house, which I do, I could pretend to be an economist and say, okay, let's calculate the risk to my house of going on fire and the amount of money I lose in fire insurance and how much I could invest it for in a nice fund and make money and go to the theater more often and so on. They're totally meaningless calculations. I want fire insurance in my house, even if it's not economically appropriate. And we are talking about the whole world. We want an insurance policy on the world. We don't want to face the 10% possibility that everything will just be destroyed. We don't want to face that. It doesn't matter what the economic model says. There are other criteria involved. And here again, a touch of humility and common sense and the attitudes of the natural sciences would be very salutary, I think.